Going back to Crown Jewel from this past Saturday, and the main event being LA Knight and Roman Reigns. And Bully, you said something again. We could go back and forth on this as far as like the glorified house show, because if you think about it, that main event was something that had people talking for weeks. Also, we saw a re-debut and a title change on Saturday. So it was a very interesting, definitely significant show. But what everybody was talking about was LA Knight and Roman Reigns. And another title defense for Roman. We don't get to see Roman much. It's been a while since we saw Roman defend this WWE Undisputed Universal Championship. I mean, the last time we saw Roman defend this championship was at SummerSlam in August. So it's been a while. But let me ask you this, Mark. You said that it did a lot for LA Knight. Is it doing a lot for Roman? How do you think people are reacting to Roman's title defense this past Saturday at Crown Jewel?
Dave, every time that a basketball is shot in the world, somebody says Michael Jordan's name. You cannot talk about elite, top-level basketball without saying Michael Jordan. Roman Reigns, you cannot talk about elite pro wrestling without mentioning Roman Reigns. You can't do it. If you do, you hate him. If I had Roman Reigns as my bell cow, he would do exactly what the hell he's doing. He would show up, wave, point the finger in the air, direct some stuff, tell people where to go, and then I would take his ass back to his hotel in a limo. Because if he gets injured, pay-per-view is over with. The ratings will dive. That's how powerful he is. So if I only get the usage of him 5 to 10 times a year, I'm good with that. It's worth it. Same thing it was with Andre. Roman Reigns has become the modern day Andre. He's an attraction.
Now, Bully, before I get your take, I got to follow up on this if you don't mind. And that is what you just said, Mark, as Roman being an attraction. And I would agree with Roman being an attraction. And you mentioned Andre the Giant. That's a big reason why Andre was never a champion, because they wanted Andre to just be an attraction. This is where, and Bully, I know this is going to sound like apples and oranges to you. Maybe I'm crazy. But you know how, and rightfully so, you get upset about officiating. Like, hey, this is the foundation of what this business is built on. And now you have officials not following the rules. I feel like it's the same thing for me with Roman's title reign here. You know, I have grown up with, when you're a champion, you defend that championship as much as possible. You have a window to defend that championship. This championship is not being defended in that way. And you said the word attraction. I agree with that. But attraction and champion, those should be those should be two different things. And yes, attraction's an attraction because that person's attract. Like you said, Andre never had a world championship around this way. Didn't need one.
But you already put the title on him for 3 years. You can't go back until he loses. Then he could become Roman Reigns, the attraction showing up for matches, and the title picture be a different thing. But right now, the picture they painted, it is what it is. It's nothing that we could do. Bully said it best about Roman and LA Knight. As long as LA Knight and Roman go out there and have a match that's gets the reactions that it's supposed to get, and it didn't matter whether or not LA Knight wins or loses, and he just has a good match with Roman Reigns, he's going to come out smelling like roses. And that's exactly what happened. He went out there and had a good-ass match with Roman Reigns, and he's smelling like roses. What can you do?
You ready?
Yeah, go ahead, Bully.
Come
I'm
on.
listening.
Bless us.
It's Mark, I think you're going to understand it, and I'm going to try to unravel it the best I can for wrestling fans who don't see what we see or understand what we understand, because there are so many people out there that, you know, it's amazing how many know-it-alls know nothing at all. Here's the deal. There are a lot of people pissed off about Roman Reigns and the amount of times he defends his championship. We can agree on that, correct?
Yes.
But
Yes.
we know he's an attraction that the WWE is trying to keep special and is also trying to keep safe, because the bigger picture is Cody and Mania. And we're not going to put Roman in situations where there's even a possibility he's going to get hurt, injured, which totally screws everything up. So we're going to be very, very particular about where we put Roman.
Bubble wrap.
Correct. He's insulated like the Pope, like the president. People would stop complaining if Crown Jewel would have been a different style of Roman match. Maybe a better style of Roman match. Something different than the cookie cutter Roman match. It's as if people will sit back and go, okay, I'll buy into all of the things that you're telling us about Roman, but when Roman wrestles LA Knight, because we love LA Knight, it better be one hell of a damn match. And we'll still deal with Roman going over and his lack of defenses, but I want a match that's different than everything else we've been seeing. And they got the same style of match, the interference ending. And I think now people are becoming pissed about this. It's as they wanted something different at Crown Jewel because they got a baby face that they're so into. We don't just want to see the typical Roman match with the interference and the this and the that, but that's what works for Roman. That's what works for the WWE. So coming out of this match on social media, one of my tweets has so many responses of, and fans are saying the same exact thing. Bubba, it's the same match. Bubba, it's the same match. Bubba, it's the same match. So not only are fans becoming frustrated with the amount of times that they see Roman, they're frustrated with the match they're seeing Roman in, because it's cut and paste. I understand that it works. Kiss puts on the same show every night. It's just that a different city sees it. But with wrestling now, you see Roman so infrequently that you see everything that Roman does. So everything that Roman does is turning into tackle, drop down, hip toss, arm drag, body slam, interference, spear, 1, 2, 3. And I think this is frustrating wrestling fans.
Well, Bully, it reminds me, and you know, everybody knows how a big fan of Ric Flair I am, but there was a time in the 80s that Ric Flair, every title defense would get disqualified. You would see, you know, the Four Horsemen get involved, and then, you know, or getting, you know, throwing Dusty over the top rope or the Dusty finish. Like, it got to be where, all right, man, it's almost hard to watch a Ric Flair match because you already knew how that match was going to end. You knew it was going to end in some kind of a disqualification, and Ric Flair was going to retain. What we've seen now, and I think, Bully, it has to do with the infrequency as well. Because if you want me to make it feel special for me, then you got to do something a little bit special each and every time he goes out there. But we saw with Sami Zayn, we saw with Cody, we saw with Jey Uso, and now we're seeing with LA Knight, basically the same match with basically the same ending. So it's like, but is that by design? Like, is it by design that we're getting the same match and the same ending?
It works. That's where they're doing. And I am not taking a side here. I'm not saying I agree with the way the WWE is doing it, and I don't agree with wrestling fans' frustration, but I understand both. I know why the WWE is doing what they're doing with Roman. It's called bigger picture. They actually have the fans' best interest in mind with what they're doing with Roman, because they got to get Roman to Philly for one of two reasons. There's one of two reasons they got to get Roman to Philly. The one that fans are hoping for is that Roman drops the championship to Cody. That's the number one reason. The number two reason is if somebody gets a bug up their ass and goes, nope, we're going to keep rolling with Roman. If they want Roman to surpass Hogan. So they're very, very careful in the situations that they put Roman in. Now, I also see fans' point of view. I know why the fans are frustrated. The fans are frustrated for what I just laid out. You want us to stick around for this champion who we see every once in a while, and you're telling us it's bigger and it's better and it's special, but I'm not getting that kind of match out of him. The match that Roman and LA Knight are putting on is a very, very simple match. Psychologically sound and simple. Not a lot of crazy shit, because when the characters are that over, you don't have to do crazy shit. And it works. Dave, do you understand where I'm coming from? I know Mark does.
I understand. And go ahead, Mark, because I know, Mark, you want to follow
Dave,
up on what Bully said.
For the people that eat Slim Jims, you know why they eat Slim Jims?
They like the taste.
They like the taste, and they know the taste. They know what they're going to get with that brand. You go to McDonald's, people go to McDonald's for fries. They don't eat the burgers. They drink the coffee and they order fries, because they know that the fries are going to be the same everywhere they go, and they're delicious. They're going to get what they want. In pro wrestling, it's the same. When you go to your desired wrestling brand and your guy comes out, nobody said nothing when John Cena was the champ and he was five knuckle shuffling and dropping the you can't see me. Nobody was complaining when The Rock was doing the elbow. Nobody was complaining when Steve Austin was shoot off, duck, fast press. Nobody complained when Undertaker grabbed your hand and got up into the corner and walked the ropes. Why Roman? Why complain now?
Well, I mean, to be fair, people were complaining about John Cena, that's for sure. I mean, the crowd would be split.
What are they really complaining about with Roman when it comes to the match?
The outside interference.
The outside interference. The outside interference. That's what they complain about. They're tired of it. Now, at the end of the day, Roman is a heel. And a heel who is on his way to, being at the very least number 3 on the list. I believe he is number 3 on the list, possibly number 2 on the list. I think fans are like, okay, how come we can't see him more, or he can at least have more credibility in his wins? Well, how do heels win? They cheat. They cheat to win. They manipulate.
I get that. There's a lot here. Let's take a break.
Dave, the WWE is going to make you hate Roman Reigns in one way, shape, or the other. This way, by the time they get to Philly, there's not one person in that stadium who's going to want to see Roman retain, because you know what? We're sick of Roman. We're sick of the outside interference. We're sick of this, that, and your sister's ass. We want Cody. Cody, win.
Now, Bully, real quick, don't want to sound like a hater here, but LA Knight against The Miz at SummerSlam, crowd was hot for LA Knight for the yes and the entrance. But during the match, I felt like the crowd kind of got lost during that match. Sounds crazy. And I know Paul, our producer, kind of argued about this over the weekend because he completely disagreed with me. That Saudi crowd was hot for LA Knight with his entrance. And afterwards, I didn't feel like the crowd was that hot during the match. What are your thoughts on what you saw on Saturday?
Dave, when I watch a wrestling match, I'm watching with my ears first, because the crowd tells you everything you need to know. As a young wrestler, you're taught always listen to the crowd. They'll tell you everything you need to know about what you're doing in there works or not. Not listen to the crowd in a way where you let them dictate your match. You listen to the crowd to see what they're into and what they're not into. So I am constantly listening closely for any and all sounds that I hear. LA Knight is still tip of the iceberg over with the WWE universe. They're into everything that he says, and they're very loud about it. He's getting loud responses with the yeah and the LA Knight and let me talk to you and everything that he says, almost on the same level as the what chants, from Austin, or any other great tagline, get the tables, or do you smell what the Rock is cooking? And the only reason I'm throwing get the tables in there is because get the tables is still one of the loudest things you'll hear in the wrestling universe.
Still hear it.
So all of that stuff, he's mega over. That's the tip of the iceberg. Now what happens when LA Knight is working? That's what lies beneath. Are they into LA Knight with everything that lies beneath the surface? Is there true, genuine, emotional investment in the man, the character? There's some. He's on his way, but it's not all there yet. It takes time to get to that level. It takes time for a man to truly love a woman, that deep, deep love, or a woman to love a man, or any relationship that goes on in this planet where there's real love involved. It takes time to truly emotionally invest and genuinely love. And that's the same type of relationship a wrestler has with its fan base. LA Knight's been around now for how long?
In the WWE for a very short time. I mean, he's been around the world of wrestling for almost 2 decades.
I don't care about the world of wrestling. I care about the WWE right now. 6 months, maybe a little bit more, since this LA Knight craze has started.
Yeah, I mean, after getting away from that model agency gimmick, I mean, it's been less than a year that we've seen the true LA Knight. Yes.
And you can only have so much love in that time. The people aren't there for LA Knight. They're not willing him to win. Go back and watch. Who's my barometer? Steve Austin. Go back and listen to a Steve Austin match. Or go listen to any of your favorite WWE babyface matches, people that they are truly into. You hear a buzz throughout the entire match. You can hear them willing their favorite guy on. What I heard at Saudi, now Saudi could be a different type of crowd. I heard a lot of peaks and valleys. And the valleys were low for LA Knight because there was almost silence at times for LA Knight. And then when there wasn't silence, there was a huge, huge spike in then coming up for him. What LA Knight needs to do is his peaks are there. What he needs to do is raise his valleys. And the only way you raise your valleys is to have the people love you more. How do the people love you more? LA Knight has to get his ass handed to him by somebody. LA Knight needs to be put into positions where the people now truly feel for him. He hasn't been in that position yet. One of the things that I thought that they could have done for LA Knight at the end of Crown Jewel is left him standing at the end. That would have been a nice little feather in his cap. The match could have ended. Roman could have gotten his face and said, you talked a little bit too much. You couldn't back it up, blah, blah, blah. LA Knight could have caught him with another, what does he call it? Not skull-crushing finale.
I know. I
hit him with
could
his
have
finish.
just laid him out flat. That would have been a way to go. And to
And
your
now
point
the
about
last thing you saw was LA Knight laying out Roman Reigns. That would have been a nice little touch for him moving forward. But the fact that they didn't, and LA Knight just rolled out of the ring and you didn't see him anymore, and all you saw was Roman, was everything that you need to know about what the plans are for LA Knight. They have plans, but right now, as far as world title plans, absolutely not. And I know LA Knight fans out there are going to be screaming at the top of their lungs. Folks, I am an LA Knight fan. I have gone on record to say it on audio, on video, blah, blah, blah. But I also call this as real gets. He still has work to do. And when I say work to do, I'm not saying he's lazy or this. You need time. Loved baby faces who draw money are not built in a day.
Makes sense to me. And I think the proof is in the pudding from that crowd. Now you said about the Saudi crowd, but I'm gonna compare apple to apples. Look at that crowd in the emotional involvement with that crowd for the opening match between Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre, and then look at that crowd and hear that crowd during LA Knight and Roman Reigns. You would think it would be more so for that main event, but it wasn't. I mean, that Saudi crowd bought into every second of that opening contest for the World Heavyweight Championship, and it wasn't there. Bully, during the break, we went back and we talked. There was like some controversy over, was there a 3 count before Jimmy Uso put Roman Reigns' foot on the bottom rope? But like, we were looking at that crowd. Now, whether that 3rd count happened or didn't happen, I didn't see that crowd react the way that you thought that crowd react would be for somebody where they thought there was a new champion or LA Knight just beat Roman. It just wasn't there. Now, maybe some of that is because they're expecting Roman to win that match, but either way, that crowd investment wasn't there for that match like it was for that opening contest on Saturday.
This is why I encourage fans who want to become more students of the game to listen closely, because it will tell you what you need to know. And everything that we're talking about is just fair, honest feedback on LA Knight and Roman Reigns.
Yes.
This is very fair this morning.
And it's funny, Mark, earlier in the show, you were talking about Roman's reign, and then you were talking about John Cena and how people weren't complaining. But people were complaining when John Cena was champion. He had like the crowd split 50-50 singing Cena sucks. How many phone calls I would take here on Busted Open about how Cena was selfish and how many people he buried when he was the champion and everything like that. Like, all you have to do is look at what John Cena's done over the last 5 years. By the way, hasn't won in a singles match in 5 years. Think about that from somebody like John Cena. Now, I get John Cena hasn't been around much, but still. And then he got decimated by Solo Sikoa on Saturday at Crown Jewel. And think about what Wade Barrett and Michael Cole are saying. They're saying, for God's sakes, pin him already. And then Solo pinned him. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen, maybe other than the match he had with Brock Lesnar, as one-sided of a match in John Cena's whole career than what I saw on Saturday with Solo Sikoa.
Dave, did you see last week, or I'm sorry, 2 weeks ago, Chris Jericho and Hobbs?
Yes.
The greats, it doesn't matter. Nobody's going to look at them as, oh, man, they suck. They fell off. No. They're going to look at it as, wow, what a changing of the guard. It's a level of respect a great wrestler has to have to go out and pass the torch to somebody. I had a few of those moments, and I loved every minute of it because I felt like, wow, this is a level of currency that you can't spend it, but it's always there. It's like gold. You can spend $1, but if you got gold bullion, it's just sitting in the bank, getting more valuable every day. And what Cena did is a gift that's going to keep on giving for a long, long time. And I respect the hell out of him for it. And 2 or 3 is enough. You know, you start getting around 5 or 6, then okay, it took a howitzer to blow your head off, you know, but nonetheless, the job got done. It was effective. It was a unbelievable success, and nobody will remember that Cena lost his match in a couple of weeks.
Well, I think I disagree. I think they are. I think this was a memorable victory that I think people are going to remember this victory for Solo for some years to come, because I think they're going to remind you of this victory for years to come.
Ding.
Well, more than Cena's loss, they're going to remember that Solo won.
The WWE will be replaying this at least for the next week or 2. Now, lots of people on social media, Bully, why did it take 993,000 spikes to beat John Cena? Of course, I'm exaggerating. They were like, why did it take 11 or 12 spikes? The story that was being told was the absolute decimation of John Cena. How many covers did Solo Sikoa go for after the spikes?
None.
Until he went for the cover. And when he did go for the cover, what happened?
1, 2, 3, 1.
So it's not like Cena was kicking out of these spikes. We don't know. Solo could have won after this first spike, but that's not what Solo wanted to do. Solo's job was to absolutely decimate John Cena to the point where the announcers were like, please just pin him and beat him already.
And that's why I thought Wade Barrett and Michael Cole did a fantastic job, because they were, I mean, even Wade Barrett, who's kind of like the heelish commentator, was kind of like, enough's enough. Like, that was like, just pin him already. Please just pin him. Like, you're right. I saw it that way too. Like, this wasn't like a case where, he went for that cover 1-2 kick out. That wasn't what happened. Like, I felt like at any point Solo could have went for a cover and got the victory. He just wanted to punish John. He wanted to make a statement. That's why, Mark, for me, I think that this match will be remembered for Solo Sikoa's entire career.
I think what Mark meant to say is this is not going to hurt John Cena in any way, shape, or form.
No, nothing ever will.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Nothing ever will.
You talked about Wade Barrett. Wade Barrett is becoming a national treasure.
Yeah.
I mean, like, he the only guy I ever heard use the word temerity. I said, hey, kids, break out your vocabulary words, because that is one that you don't hear that often. That's a great word.
Dave, what was the last thing you saw in the segment between Solo and Cena?
I just remember Solo standing over Cena.
Was that the last thing that you saw?
Yeah.
No, it wasn't.
What was it?
Cena stayed down until Solo left the arena, walked up and went through Gorilla. And then what happened to the crowd? All they had left was to concentrate on Cena, and Cena slowly got up and they gave Cena a standing ovation.
Again, they started chanting, "Thank you, Cena."
Genius. Genius.
And this is where it's all kind of about the follow-up too. You mentioned Hobbs destroying Jericho. It's not going to hurt Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho's a legend.
No.
He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. But it does a world of good for Hobbs.
Everybody won in that match. Everybody took a step forward. Solo takes a massive step forward in the decimation and pinning of John Cena, and John Cena just takes another step forward to his GOAT level immortality.
Yeah.
When those people weren't like, boo, you got your ass kicked, you lost definitively, you're washed up and done and partially
Beat it,
balding.
loser.
They gave him a standing ovation. Thank you so much for putting your body through that and willing yourself up in the middle of the ring and performing and coming here for us. That's the beauty of what we did. And do you know who was one of the absolute best at doing that every night after he lost?
Who?
Tommy Dreamer. Tommy would get his ass handed to him most nights by me and Devon, and then stay down until me and Devon left the arena, and then the standing ovation would start for Tommy, because Tommy once again gave his blood, his sweat, and his tears for ECW. And that's how he got so massively over as a babyface in ECW.
What's next for John Cena, you think? Like, there's a lot of people speculating, is that it for John Cena? The way the commentators were talking about Cena, I don't think it is. But, man, if that was the last we see from John Cena, I mean, to be able to do what he did for Solo Sikoa, it did wonders for Solo Sikoa. But I'm wondering what's next for John Cena.
Hollywood is opening back up. So if he got Peacemaker or any stuff to go back and start working on that he was working on, he can go back and work again.
I would say that if capital if underscored bold letters circled if the WWE has any kind of a bug up its ass because Flair went to AEW, you might see the WWE put John Cena in a position to break Flair's record.
And I think we would agree that if that were to happen, it wouldn't be with the WWE Universal Championship. It would be for the World Heavyweight Championship.
Correct.
Yeah, because it's still technically a world championship. That would be John Cena's 17th reign as world champion, and he would beat Ric Flair's record of 16.
No, Mark, you're shaking your head no, or?
No, I'm thinking that's genius.
Why, thank you.
That's what I would do, because I would want my guy, handmade, to be the guy singly hold that title.
They keep calling him the GOAT.
I'll compare it to something, Dave. The Dudleys. And I'm detaching myself. The Dudleys came in and became the most successful tag team in the history of the WWE. More successful than the Hardys were, more successful than Edge and Christian were, Demolition, the Hearts, the Road Warriors, yada, 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 the most amount of championships. But it got to a point where the WWE said, we want one of our homegrowns to become the most successful team. Thus, the Usos, thus, the New Day. So you always want something that's built at home to be your biggest and best. Now, maybe the WWE has stayed away from Flair's championship run out of respect for Rick. But now Rick's not a part of the WWE anymore. Rick is a part of, some people would call it, the competition.
And he's not going to come back for a while. He signed a multi-year deal, So
now the WWE can't refer to Ric Flair anymore, or it's not going to be in their best interest anymore to refer to Ric Flair as the most decorated world heavyweight champion. So let's get one on Cena. Now our homegrown guy has the most championships.
I got to be honest
of all time.
Mark, you just said it. You said the greatest. they've been saying that greatest of all time moniker ever since he's come back. They even said it on commentary on Saturday that Cena doesn't like the fact that they keep saying that he's the greatest of all time. How do you make him the greatest of all time? By making him have the most championship runs of any other champion. Now, I get it that Ric Flair was NWA, multiple different championships, but we always think of Ric Flair in that 16 times. If John Cena wins it again, he's now a 17-time champion. And then they could say the great, and then they, without any kind of argument in their world, they could say John Cena is the greatest of all time. And there's not an argument because no one's been champion more than John Cena. Bully, I would be surprised, Bully, if they didn't do that. Why bring Cena back if that's not one of the things that's on your mind, especially now that Ric Flair, it's not like Ric Flair signed a 1-year deal and then you're like, all right, next year Ric Flair will be back in the fold. He signed a multi-year deal with AEW. So Flair's not coming back anytime soon.
You know who this actually benefits?
Who?
Charlotte. Daddy Shadow's not around right now for the next 2 years.
It does help Charlotte. I agree with that.
That's just my opinion. Not that they were side by side, but with Rick in a completely different company, I think it benefits Charlotte. And like I said, the WWE, would you guys agree that the WWE either stood by Rick or backed him up during some of the lowest points of his career and life?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, troubled times too.
Troubled times, absolutely. So the WWE is going to go, we stuck by you. We never put anybody else in a position to break your record. But now you've decided to take your talents elsewhere to a company that has created a little bit of problems for the WWE. Well, now maybe one of our guys needs to become the GOAT of all GOATs and the most decorated world champion of all time. And Mark, not trying to put you in a situation, but you know how they think. Do you put it past them for thinking this way?
Not at all. Because, I mean, there's things that I've learned in pro wrestling that equate to this. If you don't work for me, I can't do nothing to you. So there is a level of bitterness that can come when you screw over or you do something that's deemed, you know what, I don't know if that's a good thing to do as much as I've done to help. Come across like, hey, it's more about me than about the business. I'm not saying that that's what it is. I'm saying that I know that hair can get in your ass sometimes.
And I don't think either one of us are saying that is what happened.
No,
I'm not saying that's what happened. Mark's not saying that. I'm saying, but there's enough in the past with others where you could go, yeah, this might happen to him also. And we don't know the conversations, if there were any conversations. Hey, listen, Rick might have got a call from Tony and Tony said, listen, I'm going to give you this much money. And Rick said, okay, let me think about it. And then Rick picked up the phone and called Hunter and said, hey, Hunter, listen, this is what they want to do to me. And Hunter said, okay, well, go take the money, Rick. And you can always speculate. Nevertheless, Rick is in AEW now. John Cena now has an opportunity to become number one on the list, not tied with, not asterisk next to, number one.
Well, Bully, I feel like they probably would have gone this route even if Ric Flair didn't go to AEW. When you talk about Ric Flair, you got to talk about NWA, WCW. Like, John Cena is a WWE lifer. Every single reign is in the world of the WWE. I feel like for them, why have that asterisk? You have John
Yeah.
Cena, win that 17th one. He's the guy. You're not even bringing up Ric Flair anymore. I feel like they probably were going to go this route no matter what. Now, there's probably extra incentive because Ric Flair has moved on, but I feel like this probably would have happened anyway.
There is nothing that they have been doing with Cena that has led me to believe that they were going to do this anyway. I think that there was a certain respect level hanging around the WWE in which they said, we're not going to touch Flair's record. We'll let Cena be tied, but we're not going to break it. I don't know if that exists anymore.
Interesting.
With Rick going to AEW.